The Truth About Goblins. Chapter 54. There was a moment, though for all it seemed it could have been an infinite string of moments, when time and space itself had lost any and all meaning, when the mind was left to drift in and out of a realm past consciousness and reason, when even the simplest of words could not remain intact through the whirlwind of life and death that surrounded the body and consumed the mind. And then there was the yelling, screaming too, and wailing. Everywhere he turned there were infants and children, and a sturdy woman residing over them with a discipline that was hard to put into words, but came so easily in memory. And then there was the journey. Jumping into the future, his next recollection was one of a long walk, an incredibly slow and yet so very quick period of time when he drifted on the precipice of adulthood without understanding what it meant to be a man in the first place. And then there was the stage. Yes, the stage. Sometimes it was small. At the beginning, it was always small. And the audience so distant, so cold. And no matter how many nights he tried, no matter the lengths he would go to in an effort to win them over, he would be met with failure time and time again. The thrill of the stage lost its luster, quickly falling into a dark circus ring of dull repetition. Money came, but only night after night after night. The passing of time only nurtured his bitterness, his distrust towards the audience and everything they represented. People, money, life. There was nothing to be done about it. This was reality, and even in his memories it was nothing more than a string of pale carnival lights whirling past him. And then there was the girl, bright, fiery, an abundance of passion. In short, everything that he was not. She pulled him in, rekindled what was left of his own fading identity, and opened his eyes to a world he once thought to be fantasy. "Come with me." And then there was the market. The magic, the wonder. Another life, another chance. She led him there, the girl, into this fantastic realm, into her world. She brought him inside, past curious eyes and up into a dark room. He didn't know what to think, what to expect. He didn't understand what was happening. And then there was the magic. Not cheap tricks, but real magic. The girl stood behind him, another man, his face hidden under the darkness of the room. It was there that the lessons began. Hidden away from prying eyes, it was to that room he would return every night to learn from the secretive magician, to learn about magic. And with each night that he returned, the world above began to fade, its color and life lost to him. He craved knowledge, chasing after more magic. It kept him tied to the market and his mysterious teacher. And as time trickled by, as the nighttime lessons became increasingly few and far apart, something else began to grow, a new curiosity. Innocent at first, but harder to suppress the longer he tried to ignore it. One night, as he lay in bed, he was seized by it once again, unable to think of anything else aside from her. The girl who was now a woman, the one who had led him into the market. He couldn't stop thinking of her hair and her smile, the deceivingly innocent way she had of looking at him, staring at him. He couldn't help but wonder if she ever thought about him the same way. And it was at that moment, deep in thought, that the window to his room was opened. It had happened so swiftly, so suddenly, that he hadn't time to get out of bed before she, that woman, had so silently slipped in beside him. Their eyes met. He realized she had been crying. He pulled her close with shaking arms. Something terrible had happened. "Kiss me." And then they were running. The morning after it all became clear. She had made an agreement, a bargain, a reckless deal she couldn't fulfill. And for that, they were forced to turn away from the goblin market, running as fast and as far as they could from that place. They refused to rest in the precious few months afforded to them, months shadowed by a threat, a phantom in close pursuit. Months of fear and paranoia surrounding the life growing in her womb, the price they could never pay. And then they stopped running. They had gone as far as they could, leaving behind little or no trail for anyone who might pursue them. It was there, in a small, quiet city, that the child was born. And it was there that the two found a happiness neither of them had ever dreamt possible. And then the memories stopped whirling. The storm began to slow. How real it all seemed as he awoke from a deep sleep in the middle of the night. It was vivid, clear, this memory in his mind. The baby was crying. His wife went to the child as someone knocked on the door downstairs. The banging was loud, persistent. It filled the tiny house and made the baby cry even louder. Eager to put a stop to the noise, he made his way downstairs to answer the door. But something was wrong. Upstairs, he could hear his child wailing, crying. He could hear the rain outside and his wife singing to calm the baby. But the knocking had ceased. There was no one at the door. She screamed. He heard her cry out for him. The baby began wailing again. He panicked. Something was wrong. He couldn't feel his legs as he ran up the stairs. He couldn't breathe as he tore into the nursery. He couldn't hear the baby crying or the window opening. All he could hear was his own heart inside his head as he stared at his wife on the ground. Blind to the gold coins scattered across the floor, he fell to his knees, screaming as he took her in his arms. She clutched at her own wounds, trying to push him away. "Wilhelm, go!" He couldn't let go. He couldn't leave. "Will, he has the baby." There was no thinking. There wasn't any time to think. He tore his arms away. Terrified, numb, he lunged through the open window and dropped down onto the street. The rain beat down, relentless, merciless. It burnt his skin like ice, stinging his eyes as he ran into an alley. He followed the cries, the wailing, charging faster with each passing second. And in the darkness of that alleyway, he found him. The thief. The murderer. He grabbed the man's shoulders, pulling him back, forcing him to the ground. The baby screamed as the villain countered, kicking, slashing. Messy, vicious blows fell upon either man as they struggled against each other in the pouring rain, the whole scene one of darkness and confusion. And then there was a flash. Hot, red. It blasted through his chest until it met his heart. He collapsed. His head hit the ground, and he knew he couldn't get back up. A black fog worked its way across the edge of his vision, threatening to pull him into the darkness at any second. But he fought against it, desperate to get a glimpse of his enemy, to put a face to the thief in the night before he disappeared. Even at the edge of death, he knew where that man was going. He knew he could find the villain once more if he could only see his face. And then it happened. In a moment of hesitation, of uncertainty, the man turned on his heel to look behind. The baby was cradled in his arms. The foggy light from a lone street lamp fell over his face. And then he saw it. Even through the curtain of rain, he would never forget it. That face, marked with cold determination, hard-set features that testified to a terrible cruelty. That face, so strange, and yet so familiar in the dim light. That face. Timothy? And then the world shattered to darkness. Hey, hi, I'm your narrator, Miranda Eastwood, also the author of The Truth About Goblins. If you liked this chapter, remember to add, follow, or subscribe to this channel so you can hear the next one. And if you didn't like this chapter, oh well, I can't really do anything about that. In any case, I just thought I'd let you know about my Patreon. You can check it out if you'd like to throw some support my way. It would mean a lot to me. Not to mention there's loads of extra exclusive content that I only post on Patreon. While I'm at it, I'll mention that The Truth About Goblins is now available as a complete audiobook, and you can get it wherever you get your audiobooks. Thanks for listening.